Did Princess Charlotte really stand up to Queen Camilla and say the unthinkable? Buckingham Palace is in shock, and what happened during a private royal moment has the entire nation whispering. What did Charlotte say? Why didn't William and Kate stop her? And how is the palace trying to hide it now? This isn't just another royal headline. It's a glimpse into a royal shift no one saw coming. A bold young princess, a powerful Queen Consort, and one comment that's shaking the crown to its core. Stay with us, because this changes everything. Inside the royal family's walls, Buckingham Palace has always been a place of grandeur, but also of silence. A silence that hides more than it reveals. To the public, it's a dazzling fortress of history and tradition. But behind those stone walls and velvet curtains, tension simmers. And not just between monarchs and ministers, but within the family itself. With Camilla now wearing the crown as Queen Consort, the atmosphere inside the palace has shifted. Quietly, but undeniably. No longer is she the outsider. No longer is she just Charles's companion. She is now queen, and with that comes influence and control. But what happens when that control brushes up against someone who isn't ready to be silenced? Princess Charlotte may be only a child, but she is third in line to the throne. Born into a world of gold-trimmed protocol and whispered expectations, she is being shaped by a system that has crushed many before her. Insiders say that even at her young age, Charlotte is already feeling the pressure of royal life. There's a hierarchy even among royals, and though she's a future queen, she's still a child. Expected to be quiet, polished, and above all, obedient. But Charlotte isn't just any royal, and as events would soon prove, she wasn't going to play by the old rules. Camilla's rise to power. To understand the impact of what Charlotte did, we need to understand the power of the woman she stood up to. Camilla Parker Bowles didn't just walk into the palace, she fought her way in. Once branded the other woman during Charles and Diana's marriage, Camilla's path to queenship has been one of the most controversial ascents in royal history. Many in Britain have never truly accepted her. And though she now wears a crown, the shadow of Diana still looms over her reign. Her relationship with William and Harry has long been strained, and that quiet frostiness has reportedly extended to the next generation. Camilla is not Charlotte's grandmother. She is step royalty. And while she holds the title of queen, her bloodline is not part of Charlotte's heritage. Still, Camilla has tried to assert herself as a matriarchal presence within the family. By royal tradition, respect is demanded, not just earned. But when it comes to Charlotte, tradition may no longer be enough. As one royal staffer put it bluntly, Camilla's role was always seen as accepted, not embraced. And now, it's being questioned by a child. And this child wasn't just anyone. This was the girl Kate Middleton calls the boss of the household. Charlotte's unshakable confidence. From the very first time she stepped onto the public stage, Princess Charlotte captured attention, not with theatrics or tantrums, but with an air of confidence that felt uncanny for someone so young. She didn't just wave, she waved with purpose. She didn't just curtsy, she delivered it with a seriousness that made even senior royals pause. At Trooping the Color, at royal weddings, and during Platinum Jubilee appearances, royal watchers couldn't stop whispering the same thing. She acts like she's done this before. She's composed elegant and aware, almost unnervingly so, noted one veteran royal photographer. She walks like she knows who she is and where she's going. But this isn't performance, it's presence. Charlotte isn't mimicking royal behavior, she's owning it. And much of that strength comes from how she's being raised. Behind palace walls, William and Kate have cultivated something different in their children, especially in their only daughter. Not the old-school obedience model that stifled generations of Windsors, but an upbringing grounded in awareness, voice, and resilience. Kate Middleton has often called Charlotte the most assertive of her three children. In private circles, she's affectionately referred to as Lottie the Lion, a nickname that blends affection with awe. According to insiders, she's the one most likely to speak first in a room full of adults, and the last to back down when something doesn't feel right. She asks hard questions, one longtime aide shared. She once asked why someone bowed if they didn't want to. You could hear a pin drop. That's Charlotte. Her boldness isn't rebellion. It's clarity. The kind that's rare and powerful, especially in a palace built on tradition, silence, and careful diplomacy. But her confidence doesn't come without challenges. In a place where hierarchy matters more than honesty, Charlotte's curiosity can be uncomfortable for those who prefer things left unsaid. Aides and advisors are sometimes startled by her bluntness, unsure of whether to admire it or contain it. She has the spirit of a leader, one courtier noted, and that's both inspiring and threatening. Because there's a truth that hangs over Charlotte's confidence like a golden crown in waiting. One day, she will likely hold enormous influence, maybe even more than her brothers. In many ways, she represents the new face of monarchy, a generation that doesn't see deference as a virtue, but as a question, one that must be earned, not assumed. So when Charlotte challenged Queen Camilla, it wasn't just out of nowhere. It was the culmination of years of quiet strength, shaped by two parents who know what royal life can do to a person, and who are determined to raise their children with armor made of honesty, not fear. She is not intimidated by titles, not dazzled by diamonds, and not afraid to ask why. And that's why Buckingham Palace is nervous. Because in a world where power has always trickled down, Charlotte might just be the one to turn the current. And no one, not even Camilla, saw it coming. The moment that shook Buckingham. It was meant to be just another private family gathering, a moment of calm, tea, tradition, and quiet discussion. But what unfolded next left royals and staff alike completely stunned. As reported by several palace insiders, Camilla made a remark about protocol. Sources say it was firm but dismissive, an offhand reminder that there's a way things are done, and that everyone, even the younger royals, must fall in line. But then, Princess Charlotte responded. Her tone, clear, her words, unfiltered. "You're not my queen," she reportedly said. The room went silent. It wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't childish rebellion. Those present described her voice as calm, deliberate, even regal. Some gasped. Others looked away. But everyone knew what had just happened. In a family where hierarchy is everything, a future queen had challenged the present one. A longtime staffer reportedly whispered afterward, "That was Diana's fire in her eyes." This moment, now echoing through the marble halls of Buckingham, wasn't just about a statement. It was about a new energy rising inside the monarchy. A generation not raised to bow to tradition without reason, but to question who earns their respect. And perhaps most shocking of all, William and Kate didn't say a word. William and Kate's quiet reaction. They were there, they heard it, and they chose not to stop it. While many expected Prince William and Princess Catherine to immediately hush their daughter, what followed instead was a moment of measured silence. According to multiple accounts, neither of them reprimanded Charlotte. They didn't apologize to Camilla. They didn't explain the outburst. They just let it stand. To some in the room, this was approval. To others, a subtle message. But one thing was clear. The Prince and Princess of Wales had their daughter's back. This isn't surprising if you understand William's past. His complicated emotions toward Camilla have been documented for years, and though he's always maintained public respect, insiders say there remains a quiet wall between them. Kate, too, is known to be fiercely protective of her children and wants them to speak truthfully, even in royal settings. A former nanny revealed Kate and William want their children to respect the institution, but not to be controlled by it. And that's exactly what Charlotte showed in that moment. Not defiance for the sake of it, but a clear understanding of her own worth. As we move deeper into this story, one question begins to grow louder. Is this just one moment of childhood honesty, or the beginning of a royal generation that refuses to stay quiet? The Crown's fragile public image. The British monarchy has always relied on image, a carefully curated blend of tradition, stability, and control. But that image has never been more fragile than it is now. With King Charles undergoing cancer treatment, the spotlight has shifted to Queen Camilla. For many, her new role was never truly welcomed, only tolerated. The monarchy, still mourning the legacy of Queen Elizabeth, has been slow to embrace Camilla as the new face of the crown. So when Princess Charlotte spoke up, in front of the Queen Consort no less, it wasn't just a family moment, it was a symbolic rupture. Because this didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened at a time when the monarchy is facing mounting pressure to modernize or step aside. Critics are louder than ever, questioning everything from royal spending to colonial legacy to gender roles in succession. The institution that once stood untouchable is now under constant public scrutiny. And in that climate, a child's honest remark can feel like a national statement. It wasn't just what Charlotte said, it was who she said it to and when. A young princess, born into the future of the monarchy, drew a quiet but powerful line between herself and the past. She's voicing what people think, but are too afraid to say, one royal commentator noted. That's dangerous and revolutionary. And perhaps that's why Buckingham is rattled. Because when a child questions power, and the people cheer, the entire crown begins to tremble. But this moment didn't just stir public debate. It stirred memories of another woman who once challenged royal tradition and paid the price. Diana's legacy in Charlotte. It's impossible to talk about Princess Charlotte's boldness without acknowledging the woman whose spirit may live within her, a woman she never met, but whose impact is felt in every hallway of Buckingham Palace. A woman whose memory still challenges the institution that tried to contain her. Princess Diana. Diana was never meant to be a rule follower. She was young, inexperienced, and thrust into a world of ancient tradition. But rather than conform, she questioned. She spoke with heart instead of script, loved openly, and made people, including the royals, deeply uncomfortable. Her emotional honesty, her ability to connect with the public, and her boldness in speaking truth, especially about her struggles within the palace, reshaped the monarchy forever. But that courage came at a cost. Diana paid for her defiance in isolation, criticism, and eventually, tragedy. Now, over 2 decades later, her granddaughter is showing signs of that same fire. Though Charlotte has never heard Diana's voice in person, those who know the family say her presence is deeply embedded in how William and Kate raise their children. Diana's legacy isn't just in pictures and memorials, it's in values. It's in the way Charlotte speaks, listens, and, when needed, challenges. Close friends of the family have remarked that Charlotte shares more than just Diana's sparkling eyes. She has that unmistakable blend of fierceness and empathy, a deep inner compass that draws lines where others fear to. "She's got Diana's strength," said one former palace aide. "And that strength doesn't come from titles. It comes from knowing who you are, even when the world around you tells you to be something else." And that is what makes Charlotte's moment with Camilla so hauntingly familiar. It wasn't just a child snapping back. It was the echo of a woman who once looked the monarchy in the face and said, "I won't be quiet." Kate Middleton, who never knew Diana personally, has taken it upon herself to keep her memory alive for the next generation. She's reportedly shown Charlotte photos, shared stories, and helped her daughter understand what Diana stood for: compassion, courage, and independence. She and William want their children to grow up understanding that royalty isn't just about duty, shared a family friend. It's about purpose, and Diana embodied that more than anyone. So when Charlotte allegedly told Camilla, "You're not my queen," it wasn't simply a statement. It was a reminder that the spirit of Diana, the people's princess, lives on in the young girl with a backbone of steel and a heart full of truth. The public, of course, recognized this instantly. The headlines didn't just call it defiance, they called it Diana 2.0. Social media erupted with comparisons, and many fans wrote, "Diana would be so proud." Because in that moment, Charlotte didn't just challenge protocol, she revived a legacy. One that could shape the future of the monarchy far more than a crown ever could. And just like before, the world was watching. And this time, they were cheering. Power dynamics at play. Camilla may wear the crown, but Charlotte carries the blood of the throne. And that difference matters deeply in a family built on lineage. Camilla holds power through marriage, Charlotte through birthright. And in the world of royalty, that difference creates tension, especially when the younger, future queen refuses to be hushed by the one currently reigning. What unfolded between the two wasn't just a misstep in manners. It was a rare public glimpse into the palace's most guarded power structure. Because Charlotte's defiance broke more than just protocol, it shattered the illusion that everyone in the family bows without question. Charlotte may be young, but she is a direct heir. Her role will evolve, her voice will grow louder, and one day she could wield the full power of the crown. Camilla, by contrast, remains a controversial figure, elevated but not embraced. Many in the public still view her as an accessory to a painful chapter in royal history. So when a future monarch says, "You're not my queen," the tension is more than personal, it's institutional. Palace insiders admit there's growing concern over how this will shape public opinion. Because if a child of the House of Windsor refuses to fall in line, what message does that send to the rest of the world? And that's not just speculation, because behind closed doors, the palace staff can't stop talking about it. The Staff Whisper Network. For all its structure and order, Buckingham Palace is still a workplace. And like any workplace, rumors spread fast. After Charlotte's now famous remark to Camilla, the palace was buzzing. not just among royals, but among the people who keep the palace running, from chefs to courtiers, valets to press officers. The story moved like wildfire, and everyone had an opinion. Some longtime staffers sided with Camilla, saying Charlotte had overstepped, even as a child. But others saw something else: honesty, clarity, and yes, leadership. "She said what no one else would dare say," whispered one footman. "And she said it with more grace than most adults here." The divide was stark. Older staff, loyal to hierarchy and order, were unnerved. But younger aides, many of whom joined the palace during the modernization efforts under William and Kate, quietly admired the princess's bravery. And when the press caught wind of what had happened, palace officials began scrambling to control the leak. But it was too late. The story was already out. And out in the world, people weren't just reacting, they were celebrating. Support for Charlotte soars. Once the story hit social media, it exploded. Clips of Charlotte at royal events, looking poised and confident, began trending again. Memes dubbed her the Queen in Waiting. Hashtags like #PrincessPower and #CharlotteSpeaks began circulating. But this wasn't just fandom. It was a cultural moment. Many Britons, Twitter, especially younger generations, saw Charlotte's comment as a sign of change. A future monarch, unafraid to question authority. A child raised with values, not just titles. "She's saying what we're all thinking," wrote one user on X. "She's already more regal than half the family." Others took it further. "This is what happens when you raise a royal with integrity, not entitlement." The backlash, however, was not universal. Royal loyalists and traditionalists pushed back, calling the story exaggerated or even fabricated. But the palace's refusal to confirm or deny only added fuel to the fire. And in the silence, Charlotte's reputation soared. Could she become the most beloved royal of her generation? Perhaps. But what's certain is this: her words have already changed the way the public sees the monarchy. And now, the pressure isn't just on Charlotte, but on the institution she's destined to lead. A generational shift inside the monarchy. The royal family has always walked a delicate line between preserving tradition and appearing modern. But the divide between generations is now more visible than ever. And Princess Charlotte stands at the center of that shift. Charlotte, along with her brothers Prince George and Prince Louis, represents a new wave of royal heirs being raised in a world that no longer tolerates blind obedience to legacy. They are growing up not only under the glare of the public eye, but in a time of social awareness, open dialogue, and accountability. She has been taught not to merely play a role, but to understand it. That shift from performance to purpose is redefining what it means to be royal in the 21st century. Alongside Charlotte, other royal children like Archie and Lilibet, descendants of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, are also being raised in vastly different circumstances, with a global lens, private schooling, and exposure to American values of freedom and fairness. Even within the palace, younger staff and advisors acknowledge that the monarchy cannot continue operating on the rules of a different century. These children, especially Charlotte, are not being groomed to simply wave and smile. They are being taught to think, and that changes everything. Charlotte's moment with Camilla may have been one sentence, one small ripple in a royal pond, but its symbolic weight is undeniable. A generation is coming that will not inherit silence. They will not fear hierarchy, and they will not be confined by the shadows of history. The monarchy is bracing for that reality. Because once the younger royals start asking hard questions, the public will expect honest answers. And nothing terrifies the establishment more than a child who sees too clearly, too soon. Buckingham's damage control. As the story of Charlotte's comment spread, Buckingham Palace moved quickly, but quietly. There were no formal press releases, no fiery denials, just a handful of no-comment responses and a vague statement about family matters being kept private. But inside the walls of the palace, things were far from calm. Sources confirmed that senior aides and PR advisors held multiple strategy meetings, not to disprove the story, but to manage its impact. The goal wasn't just to protect Camilla's image, it was to preserve royal unity. Yet, there was no escaping the truth. The story had already captured public imagination, and any attempt to bury it only made it grow. Even more telling? Reports suggest Camilla began stepping back from certain non-essential engagements in the days following the incident. Whether that decision was voluntary, health-related, or quietly suggested by Charles or a senior advisor, no one can say for certain. But the move raised eyebrows. This isn't about a child misbehaving, one insider said. This is about perception, about hierarchy being challenged in real time. And that's never been easy for this family. Behind the scenes, the palace has started to tighten its circle, becoming more cautious about who is present during informal family moments. Staff close to Charlotte and her siblings are reportedly under new media guidelines, and private briefings have emphasized discretion. But despite all their efforts, there's no way to fully contain a moment that the world already believes is real. And ironically, by trying to suppress the story, the palace only reinforced its power. Because now, the narrative isn't just about what Charlotte said, it's about what the monarchy is afraid to admit. The world isn't just watching, it's waiting. The future queen in waiting. Princess Charlotte may only be a child today, but she is already becoming a force the monarchy cannot ignore. She's third in line to the throne, born into a role she never chose, but is already beginning to understand. And if her recent moment with Camilla taught us anything, it's that Charlotte isn't waiting to be told how to lead. She's learning by doing. The monarchy is a 1,000-year-old institution. Its power doesn't come from laws, but from belief, from spectacle, from unity. But Charlotte's boldness reveals a new kind of royalty, one that doesn't rest on inherited privilege, but on character, voice, and integrity. She didn't shout. She didn't rebel. She simply spoke the truth, and the world listened. That moment may have been uncomfortable for Buckingham Palace, but for millions watching, it was inspiring. It showed a future monarch who isn't afraid of tension, because she understands that tension is where change begins. She's small now, one royal historian commented, but her impact is already enormous. In that one sentence, she reminded the crown that respect must be earned, not demanded. And so, as the palace scrambles, as critics debate and loyalists defend, one truth stands tall. Princess Charlotte spoke up, and nothing will be quite the same again. The Queen Consort may hold the crown today, but the future queen is already in the room, and she's not afraid to use her voice. So, did Charlotte's moment mark the beginning of a new royal era? From whispered words to public waves of support, one thing's clear: she's already making history. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more royal reveals.